Hi, I'm Samuel C. Spitali, author of How to Win the War on Truth. In this video, we'll look at the truth about abortion. In the 1800s, abortion was legal in every state in the nation, and it was widely practiced by both doctors and midwives. Popular opinion was largely neutral on the issue, including by the Catholic Church, which would not condemn abortion until 1869. It was only after the mid-century rise of the women's rights movement that abortion became a political battleground. In the 1840s, as women began to organize to fight for equality, suffrage, and reproductive rights, doctors, legislators, and clergymen resisted by opposing all forms of birth control. Around the same time, the American Medical Association was founded, composed entirely of men who made it their mission to rid the profession of the competition, which included midwives and female abortion providers who lacked formal medical training. So the AMA launched a PR campaign to criminalize abortion and put them out of business. By the end of the 19th century, their lobbying efforts paid off. The federal government banned all birth control distribution, and abortion was criminalized from coast to coast. However, this didn't stop the frequency of women seeking abortions. It simply meant that women had to take matters into their own hands. During the decades when abortion was illegal in the U.S., somewhere between 200,000 and 1.2 million underground abortions took place yearly, resulting in 17 to 20% of reported maternal deaths. By the 1960s, efforts to legalize abortion began, not by women's rights groups, but by the medical establishment that once condemned it, particularly by doctors risking jail for performing illegal abortions and by the lawyers representing them. In 1967, the AMA recognized its health benefits in obstetric care and officially endorsed the practice. In 1973, the Republican-majority Supreme Court ruled in Roe v. Wade that women had a right to abortion, protected by the 14th Amendment's right to privacy. The decision to legalize abortion was widely celebrated by both sides of the aisle, with more Republicans supporting it than Democrats. At the time, even the Southern Baptist Convention supported abortion rights, and evangelicals were mostly indifferent on the matter, thinking it was only a concern for Catholics. Yet, even a majority of Catholics supported abortion. After all, abortion was legal and widely practiced during Jesus' time, and he never once condemned it. The Roe v. Wade decision coincided with the second women's movement. At the start of the 1970s, unmarried women didn't have access to contraception, weren't allowed to have their own credit card or bank account, and could be fired for being pregnant. As the law changed to give women more rights, religious and conservative groups rallied in opposition, just as they had a century earlier. They mobilized to oppose the Equal Rights Amendment, which would have treated men and women equally under the law. After evangelical voters helped elect fellow evangelical Jimmy Carter in 1976, abortion became a political issue as a way for conservatives to court those voters and deny Carter a second term. In 1979, with a push from Paul Weyrich, founder of the Conservative Heritage Foundation, evangelical leaders took up the pro-life mantle. The anti-abortion angle was more socially acceptable than what the religious right was really after, protecting segregated Christian schools after the IRS denied them tax-exempt status for refusing to integrate. From the beginning, the abortion issue has never been just about abortion. It has also been about dividing and uniting to mobilize votes for the sake of amassing political power. Enter political branding slogans like pro-life, partial birth abortions, and family values, all terms created by the political right to strike an emotional chord with voters in opposition to women's rights. Regardless of legal restrictions and political action, the abortion rate remains relatively static. Studies show that in countries where abortion is legal, the abortion rate is 34 per 1,000 pregnancies. In countries where abortion is illegal or restricted, the rate is 37 per 1,000, which means legality has little to no impact on the number of abortions. Making abortion illegal does not stop abortion. It just makes it less safe. Much like criminalizing drugs did not stop drug use, nor did prohibition stop alcohol consumption. So what does reduce the number of abortions? Studies show the answer is easy access to contraception, sex education, and a robust social safety net to help the poverty-stricken, which would include free or reduced health care, universal child care, and funding Planned Parenthood, the largest provider of free health care in the U.S. But these are all positions that pro-life politicians usually reject. Instead, they actively interfere with such measures. That's because the real aim is to cast birth control and the activity that creates a need for it, particularly among women, as unhealthy and immoral. Thus, making abortion illegal is not about prevention, but punishment, which is why penalties for abortion can be more severe than those for rape. Nearly all the myths surrounding abortion originate from anti-abortion groups, like the myth that a fetus can feel pain. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists does not believe that pain can be felt until after 6 months. Only after the fetus forms the outer layer of the brain, which is responsible for consciousness, and the thalamus, which relays sensory information like pain to the cortex. Or the myth that abortions are linked to breast cancer. There's no evidence that abortion increases or has ever increased the risk of cancer, infertility, or trauma disorders. Or the myth that doctors make more money from providing abortions than delivering babies, which makes no sense since abortions do not require additional office visits for months on end, unlike giving birth. And the myth that abortion is less safe than childbirth. The truth is that childbirth is far more deadly. According to the CDC, in 2021, the fatality rate for legal abortions was fewer than 1 death per 100,000. The fatality rate for childbirth is over 32 deaths per 100,000. And of course, there's the myth that Planned Parenthood's main business is killing babies, when abortions account for only 3% of their services. The remaining 97% are for family medicine, for both men and women, including cancer screenings, cancer treatment, HIV testing, OBGYN care, prenatal care, and other pregnancy-related services that require repeat visits, unlike abortions. The truth is that it's not abortion access that causes undue harm as much as abortion restrictions do. If unwed, poverty-stricken mothers are denied access to elective abortions, an unwanted child will not only ensure intergenerational poverty for that family, but it is the single biggest predictor of criminal behavior in adulthood. This is why during the Great Depression, the abortion rate spiked for almost all women, regardless of race or class. Compared to women who have abortions, women forced to give birth are more likely to live below the poverty line years later, are less likely to hold down full-time jobs, less likely to be able to afford basic necessities, and more likely to be trapped in abusive relationships. Considering Black women get abortions at 5 times the rate of white women, it's hard not to see abortion as another way to limit the freedoms of minorities and ensure they are trapped in intergenerational poverty. Being forced to carry an unwanted child all but ensures a poor quality of life for not only the mother, but for the child as well, and ultimately for society. To read more, check out my book, How to Win the War on Truth, and be sure to like and subscribe. Special thanks to Alan Wincup for the illustrations, and thank you for watching.